Coming up on this episode of Free Lunch.
The man who has knowledge is unfit to be a slave. As babies, we want to discover everything. And then all of a sudden, like somewhere as adults, we think we discovered it all and we're not on that journey no more to discover.
That's fire, bro. I can do life and coexist with any person, any background, lifestyle on the planet if you are honest. This is on social media.
This is all Facebook. You
okay. I know that comment section was getting lit.
Oh boy, they came at me. Some people will only see fruit off the tree, and some can really see fruit in the seed. Truth looks like bad breath. Truth looks like burned food. Mm-hmm. Truth looks like I didn't get the grocery list right. Truth looks like all those things.
Start moving.
Yeah.
Start moving your feet after the download.
Right. All this downloading, all this consuming. Yeah. I mean, the algorithms really are a new species within itself.
It's Free Lunch Season 3 with a special thanks to our sponsors, Bullseye-LLC.com, Ready, Aim, Bullseye, where safety is our ammo. Gen1LLC.info, Generation 1 Logistics, taking pride in putting our carriers first and helping owner-operators get premium loads, stay organized, and increase profit. And ScarletOakCandleCo.com, the self-care experts. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Freestyle Gospel, a.k.a. The Real Free, with another episode of Free Lunch. I got my man Yannae in the building. Let's give it up for your man. Let's give it up for him.
Thank you. Stop. Y'all
right,
stop.
We'll cut it short. You know. It's a robust audience, you know what I mean? Calm down, y'all.
I know, yeah. I mean, I appreciate you, though. Appreciate the love.
Yo, so I've been trying to, like, get up with Yannae for, like, the longest, y'all. I'm going to tell y'all right now. I'm not going to throw him under the bus, you know what I'm saying? Tell y'all how he was ducking me. But nah, really, really cool dude. I actually met him at... I forget actually what you guys call those resiliency training.
Black men resiliency
training. Yeah. Shout out to Kevin Muhammad.
Yes.
My man who put me up on that particular training. It was at Quinnipiac University.
Yep.
First time where I met Yannae. And I remember I wasn't able to stay the whole time. Mm-hmm. But for the time that I was there, I had a brief exchange with Yannae. He was one of the facilitators of the meeting that day, of the training, and we were I remember you walking by the table, just kind of like checking on, you know, everybody while we was working on the paperwork and the pamphlets or whatever, and had a brief exchange. And anybody like myself who, I'm sure there's like some really super woke fancy like term for it, guys, so you know, give me grace. But I consider myself to be like a feeler, right? And so like I feel people's spirit more deep than the average person. And Yannae is one of those people where it's like, yeah, I wanna pick this guy's brain right here.
Yeah.
Further. So
likewise.
So we made I mean, that was a while back. How long ago was that? Was that like the top of the year?
That was, because that was right before the top of the year. Yeah, so I think that was more like November, December.
Oh, okay, yeah. So since then, been trying to, you know, connect. His schedule's been crazy. You guys know on the show I've been crazy. With the pregnancy, the wife, is now finally home with the baby.
Hey,
yes.
Congrats.
So being busy, being a whole nother new dad again. We finally was able to connect by phone today, and we was like, you know what, with the intent of, he had finished doing some traveling, he was back, and he was like, yo, Frii, I'm ready to get in the studio, man.
Come on, man.
And I'm like, you know what, yeah, man, I'm down. And he's like, so tell me when you free next week, what days you got. And I'm like, look, man, I had like a couple of reschedules canceled today. I'm like, yo, you down today, man? You can pop up today. It, like, to my surprise, yeah, and it was like, psst, bet, where you at, man?
Let's go.
Let's go. So I love anybody, man, who got that type of energy, who could just really like realize that, don't put off tomorrow what you could do today, man. Our lifespan, our time here on this earth is very limited, man. Tomorrow's not promised to us. So I'd encourage you listeners out there, if you have people that are just in your inner circle, your family even, or people that you admire, or you like hope to or plan to connect with, and you just keep putting it off, or like, yo, tomorrow's not promised to y'all, man. You know what I mean? Take advantage of an opportunity to connect, reconnect with the people. And I think that was actually one of the themes from that day when I was there at the real estate training. Is like we talked about being like intentional with socializing, connecting with
because
people.
That was
that is true.
We were talking about the areas of wellness in our life that need to be nourished.
Yes.
And we all have areas that need to be nourished, and one of them is socialization, being able to communicate, being able to hang out, socialize. As Black men, we don't do it a lot. And I was saying on that day specifically that was a challenge for me, and I believe we connected.
Yeah, I was saying it was the same challenge to me. Exactly.
Very thing.
And I think for me, it was really like, it was a challenge, or at least it was a self-professed challenge for me in the sense where I'm such a creative mind, and I'm always trying to, create or do something. But then that creativity can sometimes, like, without me having intentional intervals where I pause and intentionally try to just connect, sometimes that creativity can act as an opium of brokenness or pieces of me that I try to be distracted from.
Yes.
And so the busyness serves me twofold. It on one hand, it allows me to create wonderful, masterpiece works of art and use talents that God has given me, so that it's a beautiful thing. But then it's like this double-edged sword where this beautiful thing also can become, like I said, an opium, or the thing that masks and hides the things, the areas where, are broken in me or insecure in me. And that's why I don't want to connect. I want to stay busy.
Yeah. And what's so beautiful about my experience, same thing that I could relate to, is that as I started to challenge myself to connect and to hang out, there were more opportunities for creativity to expand. And I started to see, I was thinking about it this way through my creativity, but that could be anything. That could be, I was thinking of a screenplay and I'm like, this idea really looks good here. And I'm thinking about this. But then I had this conversation with Frii and we hung out. We went to Jazzy's Cabaret and had some dinner and we had this dope conversation. And I saw so-and-so, we all hung out. And that feeling was like, ooh, this is good for this character. Now I just took what I experienced from that relationship, from that hanging out, and I brought it into my creativity, as opposed to me kind of being in my bubble and feeling like that's the best way for me to create. I got to just stay focused here and just be in my, I also like the idea, or I used to, and sometimes I still allow myself to feel that, but I've always thrived off of the loner mentality, off of the idea of I'm to myself, I'm always by myself.
It's a vibe,
Yeah,
it's a whole vibe. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But to that point, I've heard or I felt other, sentiments that I think people use to. They're like I feel like they're like fads. Like it's an in thing. So this is why I have to be this way, or why I'm even drawn to it. And one of those other things has been, people with this mental health thing. Like mental health is such a buzz topic, and it's like our celebrities or our people, when we see them live or they go live on their Facebook or their social media or Instagram, it's like if you're talking about popping pills and depression, it's like that's trending. You know what I mean? That'll really get your crowd growing and your followers, and it's like, and mind you, keeping it in context, I'm a entire advocate for mental health and well-being and people getting help and therapy. I currently have go have regular therapy. I'm an advocate. It's not that I don't believe it doesn't exist and people don't need to be able to have advocacy in that way. But I feel like it's become a vibe.
Yes,
it's like
it's a trend.
It's trending.
It's trending, and that's the thing about trends. Even when people are now super spiritual, right? All these trends, you're really regurgitating something that came from some original thought. There's nothing new under the sun.
Exactly.
Right? But if it's a trend, I guess my question would be, if it's a trend, what trend are you following? What is the algorithm that put it out to say this is the trend? And if you're now following that trend, are you actually working on healing, or are you really working on getting numbers, getting followers?
Or just seeking attention.
And I again, same like you, like I go to therapy. I am clearly, this is my field. I work in wellness, mental health and wellness. However, there's a difference between, whether you say like, whether you identify as anxiety or whether you identify as, having mental health or mental illness, or whether you're actually pursuing this as like, this is a journey that I'm on and I want to now advocate for people to really understand this, to get healed from it, But when it's talking points, when it's echo chambers, when you're just kind of saying talking points that you saw on a previous podcast, that the intention isn't going to land the same way it would when somebody like you or somebody like myself that would talk about it from a place, not from its trending, but from a actual need that we need as humanity.
And just like even a practical follow-up to, here's that, and here's how I'm working to make that whole. Or here's some things you can implement to make this better.
Yes.
Not just regurgitating or repeating the brokenness of the thing or the its negatives. Like,
and I don't like when people say outside of even the mental health, when they're like, oh, they're woke. You're not woke if you're regurgitating a trend. You're not woke if everything you put out is based off of what people might want to see, might go viral. That's not woke. That's not free. That's a byproduct of consumption that we have been in for so long. So long, I believe that because we consume, everybody talks about, especially in this spiritual woke era, they talk about downloads. I got this download. We need to stop downloading and start uploading from what's coming from within.
Start moving. Start moving your feet after the download.
Right. All this downloading, all this consuming. I mean, the algorithms really are a new species within itself. And if we keep downloading and consuming, there will be nothing left to upload. There will be no imagination or creativity that we're really coming from, because all we do is follow trends.
Yo, something just came to me. A download. I just got a download.
Oh boy.
But something.
Shout out to my spiritual people. I love y'all still.
Something Yannae said before we got on the air. We were talking about how people think they free because they read a book. Oh, right. Man. And something that came to me, like I'm a visual person. I'm a graphic artist, a sketch artist. I love visual works. If I was to take like that statement and have a visual like image that comes to mind when I like kind of digest that phrase, people are not free just because they read a book. I think of an image of a slave shackled to a chain in one hand and a book of knowledge in the other hand. And it's almost like sometimes the things people read becomes the opium that causes them to forget their other arm is still chained.
Yes.
Like this, having the knowledge in and of itself, as we was discussing, that's not, that alone isn't the thing that makes you free. We must have the, again, like the text says, faith without works is dead, right? Like, so we can have information and it die with you. It fall flat on the ground right there.
And if you go to the scripture also, the law doesn't justify you righteous.
Nah.
And
We got to put these feet to work.
That's it.
And that my point of bringing that up is piggybacking off the mental health thing is like, guys, like we know it's a thing that it's out there, it exists. You know, we're not making fun of it or, you know, downplaying it, but let's be those people or those platforms that when we discuss it, we don't simply just discuss its poison or its broken parts of it,
right?
But try to stir the conversation around what we can do each day to overcome that thing.
Yeah. The application, the methods, the strategies,
yes.
the solutions, they're all so necessary. There's a post that somebody put up. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And it falls in the same vein. And it said that the man who has knowledge is unfit to be a slave. So I hit love on it.
Hold on. You got to run that back. Say that again.
I said it said this isn't me. This is the man who has knowledge is unfit to be a slave.
Okay.
So I hit love on it and I said, and the man who has wisdom has the ability to free a slave. So, of course,
this was on social media.
This is all Facebook. You okay.
I know that comment section was getting lit.
Oh boy, they came at me because, well, at least one person did. It was like, did you really think that through? I'm like, yeah, I thought it through. And his opinion was that people can be wise and not be free. And I'm like,
negative. Oh, I'm sorry. That's my. I didn't mean to jump ahead of you.
You're right. That's exactly what I mean. Of course, I didn't say the word negative, but I listened to what he wanted to say, and he broke down definition and everything. And I'm like, do you know how many brothers got out or were locked up that met men who have been locked up for years, but because of that wisdom that they had, their conditions weren't bigger than them. They were free. Mm-hmm. They were free, and they taught those men who I'm speaking to how to be free before they got out.
Yeah.
Malcolm was free before he got out.
Yeah.
Nelson Mandela was free before and then there's ones who are out that are so
not free,
not free at all. They're burdened by anger, depression, resentment, regret, self-hatred.
You living in the matrix.
Come on. That's really what it is. And you're not free. You're not free. So
the way I was thinking is that the person with wisdom is able to become free or
is able to teach the slave how to be free.
How to be free. I thought instantly yes to that because separate from knowledge, wisdom, what makes wisdom uniquely different from knowledge is the application of knowledge.
Yes.
Right? Which again, when I think of application, I think of feet.
Moving.
Doing. Right? So if you simply have knowledge, that doesn't mean you have the do part. Right? And the person with wisdom has both knowledge and the application.
And I think with wisdom, with knowledge, there's this, it's one thing. It's 1 + 1 is 2.
Yeah.
Like this is knowledge. I think with wisdom, it's like, I got 1 + 1 is
It's not the
2.
practicum.
Right.
Like when you go to social work school or, get your degree, like you got to take your classes and then you got to have get those hours in.
Yeah.
Get these practicum pieces.
Because now you got to
put into work.
There's going to be some things that the knowledge, 1 + 1 is 2. Yes. You know what I'm saying? No doubt. 1 + 1 is 2. But then you'll meet somebody that's like, but I got 2. And they got 1 and they got 1. And now you got to say with wisdom, okay, well, 2 + 1 + 1, then that's 4. I'm going to be able to maneuver. So wisdom is flow. I think wisdom is being able to maneuver around emotions, being able to move, be innovative, being able to be creative, being able to pivot and move the way you need to. Knowledge, it's like, well, no, because we got to go this way. It says go this way.
Yeah. It's like, it makes me think of like that critical thinking piece. Like, right? Like, it's like saying, you use 1, I'll use a bigger number. So I'll say like
I'm not good with math.
Being
so
saying like saying like 2 + 2 is 4.
right.
Right? And that's all you got into the world knowing is that you have to make 4. That's
Right.
the goal. You have to make 4.
Yep.
You know, in this hypothetical, silly, made-up world, right? I don't know why you'd have to make 4, but those are the rules, guys, okay?
Listen, I'm in it.
So you get sent out to the world being taught the fact that 2 + 2 is 4. But then when you get out into the world, all you find are ones.
Now what do you do?
And you don't know how to make 4.
Oh my God. But I was told 2 + 2 is 4.
So all you know is I got to look for 2s. Not realizing if you just put 4 ones together, you still get 4.
That's it.
So that's when
It's
it comes
the maneuvering.
to this wisdom piece.
That's the wisdom piece. And I think I forgot how. Oh, we were talking about the knowledge and people not really being free.
Yeah.
Just because you have knowledge.
Yeah.
And knowledge also, I feel, is such an external thing, which in this world, in this matrix, in this society, whatever you want to call it, opposite of God, it's so focused on seeing things from the outside in. It's so focused on, is my condition making me feel better?
Yeah.
Is this knowledge making me feel smarter? Is this money making me feel more empowered? Is this relationship making me feel love? As opposed to when it comes to God, when it comes to wisdom, when it comes in the spiritual sense, I don't believe it goes that way. I believe I am love, therefore this relationship is fed love. Yeah. I see I am abundance, therefore no matter what this condition might show, I have abundance. I am wisdom, so no matter what lack of knowledge, lack of degrees I may have, I know that I am empowered with all the intuitive knowledge or wisdom that I need to navigate this human experience. Yeah.
And but a lot of people don't feel, that's the, where we talked about too, like, those broken pieces on the inside, you know what I mean? And for a large part, that becomes the problem with our, whether it's intimate relationships or familial relationships, friendships, is that, we try to navigate this world with one another, with a bunch of us broken on the inside. And what happens is this broken piece of me looks for the thing of you or part of you that can fix it.
Yes.
Rather than, two whole people trying to find relationship with one another. Yes. It's like, okay, I'm broken. I'm missing this strand in me. Hey, do you have that strand in you? Oh, great. So then I'll depend on you. So now you have these dependency relationships,
Yes.
And they go all sorts of ways. They happen between friendships, parent-child relationships, intimate partner relationships, all over. Yeah. And I think another previous episode I mentioned, the Jerry Maguire movie, where it's like that scene, he's like, oh, you complete me. Right. And I was like, yo, that couldn't be like, there's like the biggest lie.
It's the
like
most
in the
toxic
world.
thing to even say.
Yeah. Like, to, look for, I know it sounds cute and poetic, but, find my other half. No, you better find yourself and be whole.
Straight up.
First. And then find someone else, hopefully whole. You know what I mean? And bear witness to one another's greatness, wholeness. Like, that's the beautiful thing. Like, if you can find that, and it's crazy because when you get to those more complete parts of self and you are whole, you now experience all those relationships through that filter of wholeness. And I think you begin to actually enjoy them more than you did before you got to that place. Like, it's a whole nother level of bliss in my opinion.
It is a whole nother level of bliss and a loving relationship, especially when you know that what I was lacking, I found it in you because it's in me. So I wasn't lacking it. You're now becoming the reflection of what's in me. And I'm now becoming more of what I know I need to be. So if I know that I am looking for, if I feel within myself that I'm lacking joy, and then I meet you, beautiful brother that's joyful and, hey, what's up? Frii, literally the name Frii. I'm not going to look and be like, oh, give me that. I want that in me. It's now me saying, I found me. I found me in you.
Yeah.
So I don't need you to be around. You just became a reminder of what's in me. Now I'm going to tap into that more.
Do you think the people who are still experiencing really large chunks of brokenness in themselves, do you think it's like an intentional thing, or not intentional, a conscious thing when they engage in relationships, whether it's like with family, best friends or intimate or otherwise? Do you think they consciously engage in those relationships for the purpose of trying to like fix some, depleted or lacking part inside them, or they're not really, it's happening on a subconscious level?
I think it's subconscious. I do. I think there at some point, for some, it might end up becoming conscious, but I think for the most part, humanity as a whole has one big insecurity. Humanity as a whole has, and if you break it down individually, like we come into this world, we're giving a name, we're given a number, we're given patterns. Parents project things onto us, and society projects things onto us. And there's so many layers that cover up who we truly are. And as we go on in life, we take on these patterns and these beliefs and these thoughts, almost like they're our own identity. And we don't do the necessary work to peel back those layers and see, well, what am I truly believing? Is this a pattern that really came from me, or did it come from my mother? Did it come from my father? I love when Jesus talks about, I used to always look at the scripture and be like, yo, that was cold for him to do that. But when Jesus said, when they were like, I'm paraphrasing, because I'm terrible at memorizing the words, but they were like, Jesus, your mother and brother are here.
Oh yeah,
I don't got, like, these are my people. Like, I don't, like, yo,
those who doing the work of my father, those is my mother.
Yeah, I'm like, yo, he just disowned them. That's that. But I understood.
That was cold. That was cold.
But I get it to an extent where technically my parents are not my parents either. If I'm gonna go into the mindset of my father's business, I'm gonna go into the mindset of loving you from the soul and understanding that every single human being here has a soul that was corresponding with God before they were formed, and I love that part of them, and this is where then that means that I'm not seeing it the same way I saw it when I was growing up. I divorced, if you want to call it that, a lot of those beliefs and patterns and narratives. So as I'm meeting people, I start to realize, okay, well, these beliefs and these patterns that I had are things that I no longer adopt to my life. And so I know that what's in me, I'm going to attract that. So these people, I'm not going to use people to fulfill voids within myself. And I feel people don't know that out of pain, out of wounds, trauma responses, we are depending on not just people, but things, people, status, possessions. Like, we really do depend on these things to really fix and heal some deep inner wounds that we haven't addressed.
Separate from those wounds, I think it's probably the thing that I've been, I've done, like I said before, I've been currently still, believe in going to therapy. I have been in these last probably 3 years grown so much by having, been as a result of that therapy and doing a lot of internal work, and just looking on the inside instead of, on what's happening outside, of me, other relationships and other people. But outside of those wounds, I think I've experienced some of the best moments now, present day, of light-heartedness. Without like feeling like, this huge weight on my literal heart. Like, there's been times, man, like when I tell you, in, recent years, like maybe, like I said, 3 years back and beyond, where I have literal heart pains, man, in my chest from just feeling like I can't convince people that I love them, or, feeling like I got to do, more, or I got to do this to prove to somebody that I care about them or love them, or, and I've experienced that across, like I said, all the different relationship spectrums, whether it's family relationships, intimate relationships, friendships, and doing that internal work. And that's what I love about the resiliency training that you guys do, you and brother Kevin Muhammad, is that it has allowed me to feel so strong, and just self-confident. And I was talking to a person 2 days ago, actually, on the phone, who was dealing with, questioning. They called me for advice about, if they should cut somebody off in their life. Not an intimate relationship, but just, cut off a person that they knew that was close to them. And it was because they didn't feel like that person truly loved them or was happy for, this thing in their life that just occurred. And I said, you know what, man? I think when you fully become internally happy with the success and achievements you're making in your own life, and you love yourself, it's going to matter so much less how much somebody else is celebrating you or loving you on the outside.
Absolutely.
I said, so, nah, I don't think you should cut them off, man. I think you should just focus that much more on you.
And also having that, because again, like, we evolve and grow so much internally, especially as men. I mean us individually. And I always, when I envisioned coming onto the podcast, I was like, yo, I want to tell this brother this, man. But you a beautiful brother, man. You a beautiful brother.
Thank you.
Your family, your child, your wife, like, I love it. I love seeing it. And the joy and the happiness and the love exudes from you, and I love that. And when I think about people who evolve and grow that way, all of us, it's interesting how the more we evolve and grow in our love for ourselves, the more we evolve and grow in patience for ourselves and grace for ourselves. So I'm definitely going to have that for others.
Yeah.
So yes, you don't support me. Something's going on. I don't know what it is.
I don't know.
But that's okay. Because I don't look at it like you are trying to hurt me. I don't think you at your core of your soul of who you are, where you're going, did you wake up, say, man, I don't want to show no, something is pulling on you.
Yeah.
And maybe I could be there for you, maybe I can't, but I ain't gonna cut you off. I'm here because I know I'm good. Now, the only time, like you said, the only time I would have a problem is if I needed that validation because I wasn't getting it within myself.
Yeah.
Now you're not giving it to me, so now you're the enemy.
And that's what it is. I don't know. Like the times I can reflect on times where myself, I've needed people on the outside of me. I needed somebody to celebrate me. Mm-hmm. And if I could think back to when I felt those ways, it was, probably came from a place of me, I think, feeling like embarrassed a little, maybe is the right word. I don't know. That doesn't seem like to fit. Like it felt kind of yucky to celebrate myself or my own achievement. And I know that sounds weird maybe, but I think that might come from just like parts deep embedded in our subconscious, parts of maybe our childhood, maybe things that we experienced and we just can't remember it.
Yeah.
But we just have left the remnant of the feeling.
Yeah.
We don't know why we feel this way or think this way, but and so I think it was very important for me now to have someone else do it.
Right.
Because for me to like do it doesn't feel right.
Like, nah, I don't
know what I mean?
I want
like
to toot my own horn, Yeah.
So or you have, again, the naysayers or haters flog you for doing it.
Right.
Like, oh, who you think you special? You know what I mean? Like, so that's why even now to this day, like, and I keep putting it off and keep forgetting. Like, I don't think it's more of an issue now of me feeling like, embarrassed about celebrating myself. I think I'm just forgetting and so much else going on. But in 2020, at the height of the pandemic, I released my first book ever, first time publishing anything. And my poetry set the first world record ever of its kind.
Wow.
And
can we get?
It was like a blurb.
Where's the applause? Yeah.
We'll get a little applause. We'll get a little applause.
Come on, man. Nah, all that. Everybody stand up.
No, but
that's so great, bro.
And it kind of like, just like fizzled out. And it was like, I guess like objectively, I guess that's a big deal. But
it is a big deal.
No, but then, everything else around and everything else that you experience or see like is flooded with like these ideas of like, oh, it's like the haters, man. It's like the haters is like, quelling you and that spirit. And it's like, we have to be like liberated from our own self-celebration because like it's twofold. Like we talked about like in the scenario with the guy I told you about, right? Is like, we have to be okay to celebrate ourselves. Yeah. Like and be happy with ourselves if nobody else is happy for us.
Yeah.
But then that's only like half the battle. The second half is like, okay, you get yourself in the head and the mind space. Well, you know what? I don't need you to be happy for me. I'm going to be happy for myself. And then you realize, dang, that's actually hard for me to be actually happy and celebrate myself.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's only like that first half, that first step of kind of freeing yourself from needing the outsiders to be happy for you. That's only step one.
Now it's like, you.
Now how do you come to terms with you so that you could be okay with celebrating you?
And the beautiful part about when you get to that discovery, because discovery is such a beautiful part of our journey that we really don't try to do anymore. At some point, like as babies, we want to discover everything. And then all of a sudden, like somewhere as adults, we think we discovered it all and we're not on that journey no more to discover.
That's fire, bro. That's right? A whole bar.
So what's beautiful about that discovery is now it's like, dang, why am I not happy for myself like that? Like, what's up with that? And I had to listen, I would say up until, and some people will be surprised when they see this, when I say this, but up until 2020, if you notice, I always wore my hat low.
I saw some actually old pictures of like that hat.
The hat. Yeah, I always really wore my hat low. I always, call me Jay. Don't call me Yannae. That's my real name, Yannae.
Oh.
My real name is Yannae. Don't call me by my real name. Wear my hat low.
Wow.
Let me hide behind sketches. Let me hide behind the podcast. But taking the hat off, calling me by my full name and like talking the truth that I know God puts within me, that wasn't going to happen because the last thing I want to do is put it out there like, oh, because I didn't want people to be like, oh, you think you all that. You think come on, quiet down. Let the experts talk.
That's what it is.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
That's what it is.
I had to, through my work and through my evolution, I took off the hat. And not only did I say, yo, we're gonna keep Yannae, but I'm gonna change the J to the Y, almost like the Yahweh, Yannae. And I'm like, I'm gonna, and I'm gonna really walk in my purpose and walk in this assignment. Man, that was work to do that.
But I want to go double back to something you said, man. You breezed over. I'm like, yo, we gotta chew on that because that's a bar. It's like you said, for some reason when we're kids, we want to explore everything, discover everything, right? Mm-hmm. And when we become adults, it's like we've arrived. Like the discovery part in us is gone. Mm-hmm. And again, just it brings me back to scripture, man. Like for me, it's like, yo, unless you become like children, you cannot enter the kingdom. You're like
children.
It's like, yo,
look at all the attributes: imagination.
is fire.
Discovery,
Yo.
exploration.
And I think, just again, not to lose another thought, something that you made me think of is when you said, like, you know, why not the ability, like, you know, to celebrate ourselves or those things, is I think sometimes we convince ourselves there's no time. So it's not that I don't even feel like I deserve to celebrate myself. It's kind of like we live in this fast-paced rush society, like, you know, especially as men, like we can feel this burden, like to provide and make it's like, okay, great. Now I got to get on to the next thing. Like, you know, with me, like I spent so many years trying to like finally finish my bachelor's degree. I get the degree and my wife is like, so you go into the, you know, because I finished in 2021. So, you know, COVID happened and everything. So everything is like these virtual graduations and all. And I'm like, she's like, you know, are you going to the graduation? I'm like, no, I ain't going to. I'm like, I got the paper. That's all I care about. Like now I could get, you know, a job and get the better job. And she's like, no, you better like celebrate.
Enjoy
stop
that.
And like you put all that work in and it's like, it's just, I don't have time. I don't have time to celebrate me. I got to now move on to the next thing.
So true. So true. And I say, you know, with that too, I've done that often. My mentor, who is also what I would call my soulmate, often has to say, hey, enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Enjoy yourself for a moment. You're doing good. And I got to like, you're right. You're right.
Take a deep breath, bro.
Yeah, you know, because, you know, majority of people, man, we put thoughts in the past, which has a lot of regret, sometimes a lot of regret, a lot of shame and blame and all that other stuff. We put thoughts in the future, which can have a lot of anxiety and worry is intentional suffering. And, you know, and we rarely just keep thoughts in the present and look at like, hold up, but right now is so great. Right now I have my degree that I worked for and like, I can go and look at other, right now I could do that. Tomorrow, yes, I can do that. But right now I could do this. And also knowing that, you know what, for people who aren't going to support, I mean, and in Connecticut, you already know in New Haven, you will not get support. Like straight up, I don't care who, you got to be God for people to even give you a nod.
And they ain't support Jesus. Remember that.
But some people will only see fruit off the tree. And some can really see fruit in the seed. I'm the type where I see fruit in the seed. I don't need you to have the following.
Yes.
I don't need you to have the money. I can see the fruit in the seed. And the seed, we all know, has a dark process it has to go through for that fruit to bear. And some people could only, will be right there to eat the fruit that comes from that seed's process.
Yeah.
But then there's those other people who will see the fruit in the seed. Somebody like your wife, somebody like, you know, some people in your church family who they don't need to see you with the degree, with the book, with any of that. They're celebrating you from the core of who you are. And I believe if you have one or two of those people in your life, oh man, that's
but that's the
so
thing
beautiful.
too, man, is like you have those people, like, you know, you mentioned my wife, man, you know, I'm still in my journey of like, you know, coming to that like true wholeness on the inside. Yeah. And I'm, you know, light years, you know, better than, you know, I say I was at the top of beginning of our marriage. This November we'll be married for 6 years. So like my wife
beautiful, bro,
has been like the female version of myself that I always saw me being in relationships, like just abundant, unconditional love on me. And what I've had to grow in these 6 years of marriage is being able to receive when someone can see the fruit from the seed in me. Like, because I still had those like broken, you know, hurt parts inside of me. I had to just come out and tell her one day, like in our marriage therapy, and was like, honestly, babe, sometimes it's hard to just being your husband because you love me so much in a way I'm not used to someone loving me, and it makes me uncomfortable sometimes. And I said I had to just confess that to her, like, I'm sorry, but that's my most authentic, transparent, like
So
honest
real.
self, which is
So real.
your love is so great. It makes me uncomfortable because it's like foreign at this saturated degree. And there was no other way to explain that. And that's what we end up finding is when people like, let's say you or myself, where we are those feelers and we can see people's fruit from the seed, but they're not at a place in their own healing or growth where they can see themselves. They don't know how to receive us, or they're cautious, or leery. Like, they're like, what you up to, or think that, there's some scheme. It's like, nah, brother. Like, I just want to, what I mean, dap you up, make sure I got to touch your hand and like, yo, man, like, yo, you're amazing. Or places, contexts where I try to do that for people, or be there, or lend them my abilities and just come alongside them, and they're like, all like, they don't know how to take it.
And when we really step into a place of observation, or through a God's lens, that's really what we really become, or what your wife is, and what she was then and is now, and even when you understood that, when you got that download, when you understood that, what's really happening is there's a paradigm shift happening, and the discomfort in who you were, which is, I don't receive love like that, to who you're becoming is, I'm that love. And now here she is reaffirming that.
Yeah.
And you're like, do I want it? But your old self is like, nah, we don't do that. We don't do that. And you like, but
the old self,
this feels good though. Like, but we don't, and look at the work that you've done within yourself, loving yourself to the point where now that old unhealed inner child is
can
like,
receive.
Maybe we do love like that. Like, we do.
That's crazy. But that makes me think of, again, like the, and this is a great transition, shift into the whole intimacy piece, right?
Good one. That was a good transition, bro.
Like there, I've heard my pastor at least break that word intimacy down in the way I've seen you do with into me I see, or into me you see.
Yes.
Right? And that's what those varying deeper levels of intimacy become, right? Is to the extent, one, I see myself, and then two, the extent in which I allow others to then see myself also. Like these are these varying degrees of intimacy, bruh. Right?
Yes.
So like, but break it down for us, brother. What's the approach in which you're, kind of revisiting this intimacy idea concept?
Yeah. So, you broke it down beautifully. Like the fact of, yes, it's going into these deeper levels of you. So you have that self-awareness, so you can truly see you, but then also now you're giving clarity for somebody else that you will potentially share a life with, or it could be, just intimacy doesn't always have to be a partner. Yeah. But you're offering clarity for someone else to understand who you are, where you're coming from. But that doesn't happen unless you go into some uncomfortable, deep conversations. The guide for me, and that's the book Into Me You See guide. And it's not so much a book of consuming at all. This is more just a conversation starter. This is really just for people to ask themselves questions about that they haven't probably asked themselves. So for example, one of the questions is, what are your triggers? But outside of your triggers, how have you been handling those triggers? Some people look at triggers and they think that that's the other person's responsibility. It's really not. Triggers are your responsibility. That's for you to work on, for you to understand where they come from.
Why are you stepping on these people's toes out here, man?
Yeah, I know. They'll get it.
What you mean triggers are your responsibility, man? We're supposed to be able to blame triggers on other people, man. What are you talking about, man?
And that's how most people do. Like, oh, well, don't do this and I'll be fine. Like, no, that ain't how it go. But I did come with the guide. Really, it was funny when it first came about because I was going to call it a course for if women were interested in dating me, they had to take a course. Which I was like, yo, man, stop. You're not gonna sound So egotistical.
Calm yourself all the way back. You ain't want to see what that comment section was about to look like.
Right.
I don't know who this Yannae, whoever the hell his name is, who he think he is.
I'm not taking no course. I'll fail. How about that?
Okay, Jay.
Right. But no, so I was like, but the reason why I did it was I'm single. I was married once before my daughter's mother, who I love her to life. We have a great co-parenting relationship, and I was married another time. Pressure from the church. It was like probably 2 weeks, and the marriage was done. But
before that one, or
before
after?
that one?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
you've been married twice.
I've been married twice.
Okay.
And then I was in a very serious relationship that was probably the first one that like I immersed myself into, and I went through a lot of heartbreak, but it was a really great opportunity, as we always talked about, to really go deep within myself. At one point when I went to my therapist, I was like, F her. Okay, we're gonna get to you, little boy, because that's
get that out your system first.
Yeah, exactly.
Sift through that.
Exactly. Because by the end, man, it had nothing to do with her at all.
Yeah.
But the guide was like, I really got tired of dating, getting to know people, and we're both showing up with this false representation that's not really our authentic self. We're being courteous. We're being all that. We're not getting to the real.
You want an interview,
Yeah, pretty
you
much.
got your interview self on.
And that happens for about a week, 2 weeks. And then, we end up a lot of times having sex.
Yeah.
And then
now you're more tied.
to
each other
tied in such
spirit.
a deep, intimate way.
Yeah.
And I don't even know your triggers. I don't even know what you live by for your relationships. I don't even know. And granted, we might have had conversations about, how do you manage money? And no. Deeper stuff.
Yeah, that's surface stuff.
Let's go deeper. And so the guide was more for me. I wrote it, I laid out the questions, and I had it for me on a Google Doc, and I would meet women who would potentially be people that I really want to get serious with. And after about 2 weeks, I would share with them.
You actually did this?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. I thought this was something that was just talked about in the book.
No.
You actually did this before.
I actually did this.
Wow.
Yeah. And
so how'd that work out?
Well,
when I say work out, how was it received?
Oh, really well.
Wow.
Really well.
People appreciated it.
Oh, they loved it because we didn't get into no sex. We got really deep, respected one another, and we did it at a time where people would ask, like, well, when would you fill out this guide? I'm like, immediately. The reason why I say immediately is because when you fall in love with somebody, you're high. Dopamine is up, oxytocin's up, you're respecting each other's space, you're laughing at each other's jokes. Like
people passing gas in front of each other. You're like, that's crazy, fine, girl.
Like, nah, man.
No, that's doo-doo. That's stink. Okay.
So we about to get real right now. But it was the time, but they really appreciated and respected it because we saw each other earlier. And there was a respect, but it was like, hey, you kind of want to live your life a way that I don't align with. And I see that. And that's okay.
And I see that in advance. And I'm okay. And I appreciate you because you let me see it in advance.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you think, though, that aside from somebody realizing that something they discovered about you is like a lifestyle maybe choice that they don't align with.
Right.
That aside, you being a person who's done internal work to the extent you have, do you think that in and of itself, because that's not the norm in society, becomes an intimidating element of yourself, so that otherwise people who would make great intimate partners for you, or people that you could be married and live the rest of your life with, otherwise are scared away because of this maybe degree of self-confidence and self-knowing of yourself that you've reached now. And I, having not done that work myself, I'm intimidated by where you are. And so, that becomes like this kind of barrier for you? Like, do you think that's like a thing that you...
I mean, and that's before even the guide comes out. Like I've gotten plenty of times and I never understood it, especially when I'm looking at myself in the worst way possible. And yet for some reason it's being portrayed as if I'm this self-aware, so assured of myself, confident man. And I'm like, wait, you a baddie. Like, what are you talking? Like, you look at me like that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so now I get it even more. Yes, I do. However, like conversation and because again, I got patience, I got grace, I understand, and I understand myself. I know there's areas where I'm still growing. If you go into if I exchange my guide with you and you read mine, you're gonna see a lot of stuff. You're gonna be like, hey, oh, so you like, I still deal with things. I still get challenged by things. I still have to grow in areas, and I'm very open and honest about that. If the person themselves feels limited in being able to share, that's okay. They don't have to. You know what I'm saying? There's space and time for us to be able to get to that point. But at the same time, I'm very well aware of what doesn't work for me. What doesn't work for me isn't whether you are where I'm at. Are you developed and evolved? Do you know yourself? Like,
are you as woke as me?
Yeah, like that. Nah. What doesn't work for me is when you feel like, we're like, this is who I am and that's just it and that's where I'm going to stay. That's okay. But if where you're going to stay is, all right, so one of my tenets is honor individuality. Okay. So that one of the questions is, what are the tenets you live by for your relationship? You know what I'm saying? That you want to live by, you desire to live by. Mine is honor individuality, meaning I like separate rooms. I like separate bathrooms.
Hold on, when you say separate rooms, you mean like separate bedrooms?
Yes.
Like if you were in a marriage, you'd have a separate bedroom?
Yes.
Wow.
And I would have...
Okay. All right, I'm listening.
Usually it is a while. And I'd say separate bathrooms. It looks like, hey, if I want to go, if I need to go away for 2 weeks, to just, for me, I'm going to do that. And I want you to be able to do the same. I want you to know you have space to be able to do that. Just my purpose comes before the relationship at times, But if you're in the mindset of, well, I'm the type of person that is like, no, if we together, and we do everything together. That's how we do.
We blend everything.
We go half on everything. We hang out all the time. And if that's where you at, ain't nothing wrong with that.
It's just not where I'm at.
It's just
not where you gonna find me at.
That's it. So like, these are the things that I'm like,
you gonna find me in my other room. You gonna find me.
Yeah. But if you were in a space, exactly. That's where you gonna find me at. But if you were in a space where it's like, hey, I don't really know what my triggers are, honestly, and I'm still figuring that out, or I'm cool.
Okay,
that's totally cool.
We could go on this journey a little bit.
We could still explore.
Self-discovery.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just want it to become something.
That's mad. Like, just like, I think that's just really brave of you.
Thank you, bro.
Like, that's brave, and I say brave. I choose that word because
I like that word.
And you saw, like, by my reaction, like wow, like that's not something that. One, it's not something that I desire for myself at all, but it's one past that. It's not even something I would think anybody in just my idea of, marriage would think of, right? And so I say brave because for you to have that just as an individual, an idea or a desire of yours, and
when
probably
you say brave, do you mean brave of the individuality part?
No, brave to like be able to stand on the things that that you self-advocate, self-advocating for.
Yeah.
For things that might not be the norm.
Yeah.
The societal norm.
Yeah.
That's brave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like to be able to advocate for self to that degree.
Yeah.
Not just, it's easy to self-advocate for things that are common.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I need to make sure I have my own toothbrush if we're gonna live together. Like,
right.
No duh.
Easy.
Me too.
Yeah.
Right? It's a whole nother thing to be bold and brave enough to be like, listen, I gotta have my own toothbrush inside my own bathroom that's inside my own bedroom.
Listen,
Like, you know what I mean? Like-
completely, like the pool is here of like the day, and then as soon as I say that, everybody goes that way.
Yo, so I just, I commend like just the courage and bravery of just, owning who you are and being transparent with it. Like, because above all things, like people have to understand, like if I disagree with somebody, I respect so much, like more than probably any attribute in the world, honesty.
Yes.
Like I can do life and coexist with any person, any background, lifestyle on the planet if you are honest.
See, the thing about that, what you just said, and even when you talked about what you shared with your wife, right? Yeah. In therapy, which thank you for even sharing that moment, because that's an intimate moment. And like I said, we milk the romanticism as long as we can in the beginning. Yeah. Then all of a sudden truth comes out. Truth looks like bad breath. Truth looks like burned food. Mm-hmm. Truth looks like I didn't get the grocery list right. Truth looks like all those things. And when those things start reoccurring, and then you have a conversation you have with your wife when you like, yo, babe, honestly, you love in such a way, and you share that. I'm not caring about what you burned, what your breath smelled like. Yo, come here. Let's go make love right now. Because you went into another level of intimacy that's so deep. And I want to normalize. We normalize quickies. We normalize one night stands. We normalize that intimacy. Yep. Let's normalize getting vulnerable, where so much so that that's how we fall in love.
Normalize vulnerability.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. But that's what one of the, again, my downloads that I had before, from God is I feel like in this, not so much defining love, but, explaining, love's attributes and, paradigms of love is this quote that I use often is, love in its infancy is vulnerability, but love mastered is invincibility.
Oh my goodness.
And that's really what that means. That phrase
those are bars.
Is love is only this thing we're challenging, this kind of call to action to you listeners out there to be vulnerable. And in your, intimate relationships or, in this world of, this world of love or context of love, that thing, when you love in a way and you experience that vulnerability, it's only vulnerability you're experiencing in its infancy, when it's small, when it's in the beginning, when it's still being developed and grown on the inside of you. You're coming to terms with loving yourself, being confident in that. For me, my particular faith, knowing that God loves me, right? I am imperfectly perfect, just the way God has made me in his image, right? That it's vulnerable at first when you're trying to do this with other people, this thing called life and relationships. But then there gets to a point when love has grown and is mature. And when I say love has grown and mature, I don't mean the love between you two people, right? How people say, oh, we've been married 60 years. No, I don't mean love growing like that. I mean when the self-confidence of love, of what it is in loving myself, when that has grown and become now mature, I now interact with other human beings in a way with my love, with the love that I am, that no longer makes me feel symptoms and side effects of vulnerability. Now I enter these relationships and interactions with other sovereign beings with a sense of invincibility. Yeah. I'm not now threatened by, the fact that, Yannae didn't love me the right way this way, or Yannae did this wrong, or he didn't agree with me on this. All those things pale. It becomes like white noise in the background. It doesn't matter because the love of myself, the knowledge of love, knowing that God loves me, these things have now matured. They are no longer in their infant state.
I embody it now. I embody this
love
now.
in its mastery is invincibility.
Absolutely. because it's invincible, because if I am that, then you can hurl names at me. You can not show me the support, right? You can talk bad about me. This love right here doesn't go nowhere. And that means it also doesn't go nowhere for you. That doesn't mean that I have to make space for your patterns to be in my life.
Yeah.
If they're going to consistently show up and you haven't seen your own invincibility of love.
Yeah.
But I myself can still look past all of that. That's how big this love is. That's how invincible it is. I could literally look past and know I'm not even going to take that personal. How you ain't going to take that personal? They just cussed at you.
Yeah.
Do you know the lineage of what happened in their life that led them up to the point that they cussed at me?
Yo, it made me think of something like just being comfortable, like being that love for yourself, right? Versus like other people. It made me think of my wife. She was before July 6th is when we had our baby by C-section.
What's your baby's name?
Goddess.
So
July 6th is when she came, but my wife, because it was a complicated pregnancy, she had to spend 50 days in the hospital leading up to the C-section. So she was away from home for all this time in the hospital day after day.
Wow.
And so I remember coming to see her one day, and I was coming to see her every day. You know what I mean? It's my wife. I love my wife. And she knows I'm at home juggling the kids. I'm trying to pick up,
literally juggling the kids.
Yeah, like I'm trying to figure out what to feed them, like things that mom is always at home. The wife handles. And so she just knows that I'm having a busy day after day.
Yeah.
And so I remember coming, and I come into her hospital room, and she says, babe, you didn't have to come today. Like I just saw you yesterday. And she knows, she had been telling me and having conversations about how lonely it gets at the hospital and how she's been struggling just with being sad, and so assuming she's thinking I'm probably having those conversations and things she was sharing with me in my head day after day, and making sure I'm juggling everything at the house and always making sure I still make it to the hospital, right? For her sake, she goes, kind of like giving me a pass, calls herself giving me a pass. And she's like, you didn't have to come today. And I stopped her. I chuckled a bit. I said, oh, I'm sorry, honey. You thought I was coming for you. I said, no, I come here every day, Isis. That's my wife's name, Isis. I come here every day, Isis, for me, because I love you, because I want to see you. I'm not coming here because you want to see me, even though that's very much the case. You're here alone, away from your family.
Yeah.
You want to see friends and family and visitors, and that's great.
Yeah.
I said, but don't ever get that confused, honey. This is not a burden on me that I'm here.
I'm not checking something off the list.
Yes, I'm here fulfilling and being the love that's me.
Yes.
I love you.
Yes.
That's why I'm here.
Yes.
To satisfy me.
Yeah.
My good pleasure. Heck, you could call it selfish that I'm here right now.
Right.
I'm here for totally selfish reasons. I miss my wife and I want to see you.
Yeah.
So thank you for yourself giving me a break, but no thanks.
And don't flatter yourself. Nah.
She was cracking up, but yeah, man.
Because I am you. I am because that's the quote, right? I am because you are, and you are because I am, right? And like that oneness, that connection, me showing up for you is for me. You know what I'm saying? Me loving you is loving me. Me loving me is loving you. You know? And
another one of my favorite quotes is the best thing I could ever do for you is love me.
Oh, absolutely.
But that might be over, some of y'all heads. So
some people
we'll come back to that another time.
They do celebrate loving hard, and I'm like
that sacrificial love, like at their own detriment.
Yeah,
I gave you my right arm.
And even with sacrifice is something that you make sacred. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, but you about to get into a whole nother episode.
I won't even.
You got to get a whole. Come on, Yannae. We got to wrap up this. We get to the end of this one.
But the loving hard part.
We're gonna bring them back, y'all. We're gonna bring them back on the show.
The loving hard part, though, just to your point of what you were saying of like, when you love hard, you're loving so much, you're trying to keep something there. You're trying to keep someone here. It's almost manipulative. I'm going to love you so hard
that you don't want to ever leave me.
And you're going to love me back. And that's just how I love. I love hard. But when you love gently, when you are in that place of invincibility that you were talking about, you sometimes don't have to say a word or do anything. You can literally just be in the presence. Look at the presence that I was in when I met you. You showed me love.
Yeah.
You didn't really do anything, but you showed up that way because you are that, and that is that's a really gentle love that I feel is so much more powerful in relationships and in anything than this idea of how much did you show me and how much did I show you? Now we're going to put measurements on it. We're going to quantify it. And if it's not a lot, then I must be failing. If it's not a lot, then you must not love me enough. And it's like, where's the patience? Where's the grace? Where's the empathy? These are all these things that aren't present if we're focused like that.
No. Yo, we gotta have Yannae on the show again, y'all.
Yeah, man. Oh, man.
For sure.
I was like, yo, where we go? 2 hours? Let's go. I'm ready to go.
Nah, man. Listen, definitely got to get you back on the show, man. This is free lunch. It's free food for your soul. So we wrap up every episode at the end and try to leave the people with something edifying for the soul, like lunch edifies the body.
Yes.
So, reflecting on everything that was shared or not, or just meditating on something entirely new. Yannae, I'll let you go first. What is something that you would like to leave with the people to be edifying for their soul?
I think something that came up for me in our conversation today that I'm like, I want to hear this back, was when we talked about people that can see fruit in the seed as opposed to those that can only see fruit from the tree. And I'm just thinking about the people in my life right now who have always seen the fruit in the seed with me. And I'm so grateful for them. And I want to reach out to them. I want to hug them. I want to, just give them their flowers for just seeing me for real.
Yeah.
And understanding the dark process my seed has to go through to bear that fruit. So I just want to leave that with the people. Like, think about those people in your life that didn't need to see fruit off the tree to know that the fruit was bare, was there.
Yeah.
So just show gratitude for those people, show love, show gratitude, show compassion.
Love it. Yo, I don't even got a follow-up for that one, y'all. I'm going to let the last word be with Yannae then. It's free lunch, y'all. Free food for your soul.
Free.
Peace.